So this is my Guruji, Pranam Guruji. And as Sunny said, he should have been here and I am sitting there. But maybe some urgent discographical work has come somewhere, so he has not to be here but somewhere else. But look at the man, on one side he is talking and also you can see he's not really want to talk, he is talking with some difficulty because some of us are extrovert, we keep talking and we have to put a plug, you stop. He was of the other type, that however you want him to speak, he will speak just the thing which he wants. So in those few words you have to draw what he wants to say. Whereas if you see picture on the right where he is sort of half closed eyes and listening either to music or what others are saying. And that was what the scholarship of Michael Kinnear was. It didn't impress me in the beginning at all because as you all of you know, I am more talkative person, I want to learn, I want to tell as much as I know, as much as I want people to know. So I don't know how to go about because last year when we were in the floating auditorium in the backwaters and of Cochin Harbour and we were belting out one after the other Gandhi's 78 RPM shellac recordings because it was 150 year of his birth. So that time Mr. Kinnear and his wife, they were watching the streaming and sitting in Australia like we are doing today. And hopefully I have sent her message. His wife also is probably watching it. So that time I was dreaming, suddenly there was a cut and Michael's wife wrote me, oh Suresh, suddenly the link has gone because that Saregama policeman was sitting there and they chopped whatever we were doing. But today we are in the other route, so hopefully nothing will happen. And I checked, you also can check in your mobile that streaming is going online. So I was dreaming that once this seminar is over, I will go back to Mumbai, exchange few more mails with Guruji because you won't believe what kind of Guruji he was. From almost 2005 or 6 until about 2018, there was not any contact with him. Forget about talk on phone or something, no mail, nothing. He was not in all this mobiles and other things and not a single word. He had completely isolated himself from the rest of the world for whatever reasons. And suddenly I got mail around 2000, end of 17, and he again wanted to revive and begin the work with the discography, which was his main forte. And in that he said, we will work together again and you keep sending me books. So I sent many books which were published in which his work is quoted as a reference. Like Sharmaji's Bajanama, Wonder That Was Cylinder, Rob Millie's book, Indian Talking Machine, and Naresh Fernandez's book, Taj Mahal Foxtrot, Anish Pradhan's PhD dissertation. And he was very much pleased. After reading each book, he would send me mails, yes, Suresh, wonderful, people are using my reference and I'm really happy and this disc and museum is coming and you know, he was sort of getting a satisfaction that whatever he had sown into is slowly sprouting now. So I was hoping that this dialogue will continue and in May, maybe I will meet him in Portland at ARC conference because in Portland in ARC conference, he was supposed to be honored with Lifetime Achievement Award from them company for doing such a wonderful work in India. But again, man proposes and somebody else disposes. So this unfortunate thing happened in March. I received a mail from his wife. Again, very strange person. If you open his books and see the blurbs in the back and front, you will not find any biographical detail on him, when he was born, on which date he passed away. Even if you go to a website, bajakhana.com, which I am going to project shortly, just the early parts of March he passed away. This is the only sentence which is written on that. But to the advantage of some of us, this is the first book he published in 1994 from Mumbai, Popular Prakashan, because he wanted that Indians should really use his work in the money which they can afford. So this was moderately priced to 100 rupees or 200 rupees in that time. Unfortunately, very few copies were sold, because this is some kind of a directory or dictionary where only die-hard record collectors would care to buy it first, then dare to open it first, and then go through the pages, historical part, and then say, oh, what do I have to do with the discographical part of this? But this Ramdas Bhatkal, who was the publisher of this book, he has very cleverly written something about it, where there is a photograph also of Michael, young Michael, and I will read just one paragraph. Michael S. Kinnear. Michael S. Kinnear was born at Adelaide, South Australia in 1945. So he passed away last year, means about 75 years of life he led. And every moment of his life he spent in this passion. He began his working career in the music industry in 1962. He has worked in all aspects of the music and sound recording industry, including recording, producing, marketing, research, and collecting of all types and styles of music, as well as involvement in presentation and production of live concerts and tours of both Western and Oriental musicians. Over the past 3 decades, that means the book in 1994, so past 3 decades is about 1944 or 45. Am I right? So over the past 3 decades, he has been very deeply involved in research into the origins and developments of the sound recording industry, particularly in regard to annotating the sound recordings of India, Asia, and the Middle East. He has published a number of articles in a variety of journals with a specialized interest in sound recording, along with giving many talks on the subject in Australia, England, and India. His book, A Discography of Hindustani and Carnatic Music, was published in Greenwood Press, USA in 1985. So that was restricted only for vinyls, LPEP of classical music, North Indian, South Indian, vocal, instrumental. That's probably out of print, not available. Okay, so since then he has been preparing materials for a comprehensive discography of Indian recordings and to detailing the activities of the numerous sound recording companies that have been active in India, Asia, and the Middle East. My goodness, what a big canvas. He is the founder member of the Society of Indian Record Collectors and is presently engaged as a special consultant to major recording companies with an interest in preserving and promoting the musical heritage of India as represented in sound recordings. So on one hand, he was involved in collecting the data from all possible sources. On the other hand, around the same time, he was hired by EMI Archives in London and commissioned to make digital recordings of early acoustic period, both South Indian, North Indian. And he made about 800 recordings sitting in the London studio using then the modern so-called equipment. And based on that, some of you may remember that Chairman Choice series was released in India, where early recordings of 1910, 15 kind, they were released first on cassettes, then on CDs. But unfortunately, the packaging and the marketing and advertisement failed so miserably that it didn't click. Now people are looking for those Pyara Sahib and other stuff. So this was the beginning of Kinnear, and so I have slightly come from 2019 to where he began to again talk to me for common work. And I would like to go back now when actually it began with me and him. Because first when I heard this name, I was wondering with myself, what is this profession of discographer? Because we know all other professions, we know photographer, we know many others, but what is this profession which has a disco on one side and discographer and graphy on the other side? So the guy who gave me this contact was working in our own institute, TIFR, and he was working with manuscripts. Now today, if you go in Pune area, He has a huge collection of books and manuscripts, like mad people like us. He has rented about 8-10 bungalows in that area, and his all books are piled up in there. So he had this contact with Michael from Sarijan, and he wrote a small article in Marathi newspaper called Maharashtra Times. So I got curious because there was a small mention that he also collects records and want to do encyclopedia of Indian gramophone records. So I became a little curious. Who is this guy? What's happening? So, okay. So I said, let me just converse with him and see what's happening. So I went to the newspaper office and told him that, look, this is what you have published, but I want the address of this man. So they said, we don't have address, you have to go back to source. So again, I came back to my man in TIFR, so he very reluctantly gave me address in Australia. So I wrote by pen, paper and pen, paper later, and it went, and after 1 month again I got reply. So that's how we actually began, and slowly it so happened. So while working for this major project, he came across several records and recordings of the great masters from the past. So he decided to expand scope of his work in documenting all the 78s produced by numerous recording companies in India. Again, he began to collect material and visited EMI archives in London, photocopied tons of old catalogs, began to learn Hindi. He visited Dum Dum factory in Kolkata. Several friends offered him to translate the catalog in Roman script. He also began to inspect records available in institutions and with private collectors. Soon he was ready with the draft for his book, Gramophone Company's first Indian recordings, 1899 to 1908. And this is what it is. So, through our correspondence and letters, he realized that his draft needs to be revised. So he decided to visit me and have a look at the records in my collection. So when he came, actually, within few hours he told me, Suresh, take out those red label Goharjan records which were never seen before. So I took them out, and he said, these were reissued again in certain date when the electrical recording came from the old master. So I didn't know, so I have to change 3 pages of my book. So you are to be blamed. I said, not me. That is what the history is. So he waited for a while. His another dream and mission to write a book on Khan Sahib Abdul Karim Khan. He had made several trips since 1970 and made friends and relatives of Karim Khan Sahib and family. He had visited all the places where Khan Sahib had stayed and lived. He had even met Khan Sahab's daughter Srimati Hirabai Badodekar in 1985 at Pune and stayed with her. She treated him like a son and gave him all the information, including the legal will document of Karim Khan. He was also looking for interested publishers in India. He had found Ramdas Bhatkar of Popular Prakashan in Mumbai and was quite hopeful that they would publish his books. Besides, fascinated with the variety of colorful record labels, he wanted to write a book on 78 RPM record labels of India and had a separate register for that project. He did not know when he would publish the books. So he was telling me in 1970 when, forget about mobile and other things, but even those film roll cameras were very scarce and very expensive, even to take a 35 mm black and white film or color film, or even the photocopying was not all that popular. He would go to collector's house, then with a great difficulty, the collector will bring out some record for him, and then if he sees something new label, what he would do? He had some gold bangle-like thing, circular object in his bag. So he would open his notebook, and there he will first draw a circle, and then they will note all the details which he see in that label, because he knew that once he goes out of this collector's house, or if the collector's chemical locha in some brain happens, then you may not see him again. So that's how he began, and when he came and stayed with me for 1 month, I saw that he was updating all his raw book all the time with pencil, and so he had a pencil, eraser and that bangle. So whenever he would go, he would request with me or collectors, and that's how slowly, 40 years, collecting the material for the book, which you see, oh, wonderful book. So soon we began to visit my record collector friends in Mumbai. He would see unusual collections of his interest and would note down the details useful for his ambitious books. He insisted me to call a meeting of record collectors and music lovers at my place. So, an appeal was published in newspapers. In response, over 25 persons attended. He addressed them and explained the need to form a friend circle or a group. As a result, he proposed the name Society of Indian Record Collectors, SIRC, and helped us in drafting its constitutions, aims, and objectives and whatnot. He also insisted on publishing a small magazine, the Record News, and offered to write series of articles for that. I wasn't sure of its success, but he persuaded me to begin the activity and was confident that it will be useful. Are you seeing the text all right? However, collectors felt that there should be a guided listening sessions, and this activity could be more interesting both to collectors and music lovers. So now, after 20 years, I now remember his prophetic words. Really, the idea has clicked and connected so many passionate collectors and music lovers from all regions of the world. The Record News has now entered in 20th year, and all the back issues are now available on DVD in data format and condensed into PDF files. And now, as all of you know, at least on 3 websites, they are free available. So over 500 listening sessions have been presented so far. The idea of the society and listening sessions is now spread over many cities in India. So hopefully we guys are not doing too bad. So during his stay at my place, he would take me for Sunday morning walks. That we call heritage walk these days. So it was a heritage walk for me, educating me alone. So it used to be a tour in South Mumbai. So those who have visited Mumbai, they can start visualizing what I am talking next. Why Sunday? Because the roads were relatively empty because of holiday and early morning. He would take me on roads and buildings concerned with the activities of gramophone companies. So he took me to Fort Area, Ballard Estate, Asiatic Library, Horniman Circle, Docks, Reserve Bank of India's head office and around Whitty Station. He showed me Universal Building that housed HMV activities. He also showed me the buildings where Pathé, Odeon, Broadcast, Jai Bharat and Young India companies had their administrative offices. This was a hub for the disc manufacturers from 1905 to 1950. He showed me the building opposite Jahangir Art Gallery and next to the Wayside Inn restaurant near Rhythm House. All the things are closing down slowly. Khan Sahib Abdul Karim Khan had cut 25 discs of 60 to 90 second duration each on the 3rd floor of this building in 1904. So S. Rose and Company was the sole agent of gramophones, records and musical instruments. Now the place is used by Chetana restaurant at the same place, but the building structure remains the same. He also showed me the place near Fountain and opposite to Akbar Ali's shop where Khan Sahib made record for Odeon Company in 1933-35. So he took 30 years to move from one block to the other next few blocks for Gramophone Company recording. So several years later, around 1970, he met a local agent of Odeon Records in the same area. He offered pilot test pressings and unreleased pilot records of Karim Khan Saab for peanuts. Michael was thrilled to receive them and also felt very sorry for the apathy of Indians towards such an invaluable wealth. He wanted to release them in CD form or tape format and add it in the rear jacket of his book. So in another tour on a working day, he took me downtown from metro to Paidhuni via Kalbarevi, where Chor Bazar is still there. This was the region full of Hindus in Girgaon area at the middle, sandwiched between Muslims on east, that is Bhendi Bazar or Muhammad Ali Road, and Goan Christians located on west near Marine Lines. So this place had many playhouses for drama, opera and cinema. The place was full with Gujarati, Marathi, Parsi, Urdu and Hindi theatres. So several gramophone records on Ramagraph, Sun, Becca, Violophone, James Opera labels were issued from the small entrepreneurs located in this small region. Michael not only knew the buildings and roads, but many shopkeepers and traders. He took me in the houses of some families whose ancestors were involved in cutting records and business connected with it. Surprisingly, he would get useful material from them even after so many years. We would spend hours and hours in walking and talking loudly, and people on the road would often wonder to see us and our madness. He took me around a building in Popatwadi where Karim Khan and all others living. So he also knew several shops trading old records and would talk to them in broken Hindi. Bachchu Bhai was one such person in Fort area near Janmabhoomi Press. He would know collectors and what they want. So some special records were always reserved for Michael, and he won't show them to others till Michael had browsed through. That is why Michael has dedicated his records label book. Thank you. That is why Michael has dedicated his records label book to Bachchu Bhai. So if you open the book in the museum there, you will see the man. These trips not only enlightened me, but helped me in understanding the wonderful world and the hidden history of gramophone records in India. Soon he left for some assignments with EMI in London. I was quite sure that Michael's book would be of great reference work for the future historians, collectors, and music lovers. So he went back to EMI archives in London, where he was commissioned by the company to make digital copies from early gramophone records. And when we met again, he told me that in UK and London, they had no idea of what music is coming out of the disc they are playing, whether the speed is correct or not. So he had that digital turntable kind of thing in those days. So he would say to 78. And as some of us know that in those days, depending on the technology and depending on that day what the machine is, the speed could vary anywhere from 78 to 82. And accordingly, the music also would change. Surprisingly, I think sarod player Buddhadev Das Gupta also was in London those days. So, and he knew, Michael knew him. So he persuaded administration that call him, so at least some of the test records I will know. So when he was recording some Goharjan or some other letters where Buddhadev Das Gupta could see whether what is the correct speed, whether he begins with 60 and 70, 80 and okay, stop. And that's how we recorded about 800 songs, many of them released in Chairman Choice later. And so that work he did and never cared what happens, because he sent all the dads to Calcutta, and then it was their child, what to do with them. So this is dedicated to the memory of Bachchu Bhai Recordwala. This Bachchu Bhai Recordwala was a dealer in Mumbai. He had a shop in Fort area near Janmabhoomi Press, where all the elites and big people move. And his source was in Chor Bazaar in Bhindi Bazaar area. So his shop and residence was there. Every Friday, like all Chandni Chowk, Chor Bazaar, all flea markets, he would go there early morning and pick up the disc for peanuts. Then with head load, he will hire the coolies and they will go to BST bus, and then again the load is unloaded there and then go to Fort area and put in his shop. So this man in white is Bachchu Bhai Recordwala in his young age, and I wanted just to blow it up and show it to you how he has put the records in his shop. So you see, just near here, near his foot, the records are just piled one above the other in a vertical way. And many record collectors, I am going to show some of the pictures of our mad people. They used to go to Bachchu Bhai, and Bachchu Bhai knew everybody, what he wants, what he wants, what he wants. And unless his favorite or the customers to whom he wants to give, that customer sees that record and decides whether he wants to buy or not, it won't be shown to any other person. So Michael told me once that Bachchu Bhai went to such an extent that I would go after years, but till then my lot was kept on the loft. Nobody would see that, because he knew what I was doing. So when I go there, even if I give him any money or not, like that Muslim gentleman Jujair Warawala, he had housed him in his house in Kulaba. This man, he said, Michael साहब देखेगा तभी आपको देखने को मिलेगा. And he became very, very old, Bachchu Bhai Recordwala, and was not working anymore. So Michael said, Suresh, let me find out where is Bachchu Bhai. So one day I went to Chor Bazaar and asked the record shop, Salim and others, where is Bachchu Bhai? हमको ही मालूम नहीं साहब, आपको ढूंढना पड़ेगा, let's see where is. Somehow I got a clue, and in very old shattered chawl of Bheddi Bazaar and at Muslim Mohalla, I got his address. So I said, Michael, let's go and see, because he is 93 plus. He may not recognize he may not be on his senses. So we went with that small ladder going up. I was worried with my weight whether it will shatter. But we went up, and in a small lane, there was one room, next room, and you know how those houses are. Most of the things are out because rooms are very small. So we went and just knocked the door, and he said, "Kaun hai?" Some Muslim lady came out and he said, "No, we are come to see Bachchu Bhai. Is he around?" I said, हाँ वो है अभी जगाऊँ क्या उनको? नहीं बोलो. But listening to our voice, and especially Michael's voice, he got up. He was lying on bed, and we went inside. He said, "Michael," and he just went and hugged him. I still remember they were talking for hours in broken Hindi, broken English. Then he took out his memorable book and showed him, look what I am doing. So he also said, "Dua hai aapko." So that's how this Bachchu Bhai, and that's why I wanted to share specifically that. And whom was he catering? So these are my real gurus in this field, apart from Michael, from Indian side. So he is a gentleman in a middle class family. His name is Mr. Prabhakar Datar, D-A-T-A-R, Maharashtrian person, living in Kurla, and in a small family. You can imagine how much a clerk in Reserve Bank of India would earn in those days. But passion. So every Friday he would take a special permission from his officers and then go to Chor Bazaar and with great difficulty buy a record, then take home and play on such a machine. And he was so happy listening to the sound coming from there. He today is 93 in Pune. And I have sent a link to his daughter, if you can, just show him. Likewise, Mulani also may be watching just right now. Okay. Oh, what happened? What did I do? All right. So this is what Mr. Mulani is. He is probably also watching. I have sent a link to his son Dushyant कि दुष्यंत भाई देखो, अगर पापा जागे तो उनको बोलो कि हम लोग यहाँ पे बैठे हैं, आप देखो हमसे. So Mr. Mulani is a import-export forwarding agent and in a big business. So he also started collecting as a okay. क्या हो रहा है? Have I done something wrong? Open. Okay, yeah. He in his early 70s or late 60s, but look at the joy on his face. All of us, including Sunny ji, if somebody comes and Sunny, take out that record, and with such a smiling face he goes and brings it out. He is not at rest unless he shows the record to you. Okay, so he is Mr. Mulani, another of my guru and backbone in this society. Because otherwise this world of collectors, you know how it is. They are usually termed as enemies, but somehow we could make them friends. And this gentleman passed away. His name is Mr. Merchant. He was also again in bank, and he passed at the age of 85. Oh my goodness, he is holding a Pathe record, I think, on his turntable. Is it so? Yeah, Pathe record. So look what kind of records and recordings we have. And this is a person which is standing before you and doing some talk or lecture or something. Not bad, no? Okay. So, and from South, this is our old friend who is still active. He was in RMIM last week and belted out all his memoirs, Rangarao. So this is a mad world of we the collectors, and what I want to do next, I have read PDF file to you, I have shown photos. I want to run 2 films now. One film is about Doordarshan episode of 1991, when our great Siddharth Kak was doing Surbhi episode, and people were actually wanting and waiting for that Sawal Jawab stuff and all that. So in that he wanted to cover the activities of Record Collector Society, and he also told me, Suresh, I want such a big question. So some of you who are old people remember that they used to get lakhs and lakhs of postcards for other answers. I said, how many postcards you want? I can frame a question, Sawal, there is no problem. He said, I don't bother about how many letters come, but I want a genuine and really nagging question. So I framed a question, that part we are not going to see. So I picked up one record of Gauharjan of Kolkata and one record of Pyara Sahib. And we played one after the other and asked the audience to identify who is the male singer and who is the female singer. And they got only 14 postcards, out of which 10 were written from one family of a collector from Nadiyat, Ahmedabad, because he knew exactly the answer. The moment he listened to the music, he said, yes, this is Gauharjan, this is Pyara Sahib. And that's how it was, 1991, when even today nobody cares who is Gauharjan and who is Pyara Sahib, but that was 91. So in that he wanted to give a little projection to what we guys are up to, because society had just formed, not even 1 year. And I was myself not sure where will it go. So in that Michael was with me, so he said, Suresh, we want to shoot Michael also for 2 things. One is Surabhi, and I will end with the last video which I am going to show. So Siddharth was working on that, so he commissioned one young documentary filmmaker, I think his name is Deshpande or something, I don't know where he is now. So he took pains all the way to go to Ulhasnagar and see our old man Vaswani, he was young then. You will see in the video that Vaswani Fellows collection. When you go there, there is a cabinet that he will open for you. And in cabinet there are stacks of 10 records in some 7 slots again. And written there, Monday, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Tuesday, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And these stack of records are very close to his heart. He will never allow anybody to touch in the house. So breakfast time means, and today he is again 85, family abandoned him, they went into Chembur and he is stationed in Kalyan, and I don't have time to show that video, otherwise I will share, but today even he comes, takes out that stack, puts on the changer, and while one after the other the records are falling down, he is listening, he will prepare his breakfast. And you will see a focused documentary film has done that. On the wall he has nailed one 70 RPM record, and around that there is a rim, the conquest for the real group. So he still believes that whatever music is recorded, good music is only in 70 RPM record, nothing else. So वो पागल आदमी को हम देखेंगे. Then in that video there is one group sitting and listening to records, where you will see me with black beard and like Gigi Bhai. And Michael himself you are going to see, and Mulani. It's a short video but interesting video. VLC ठीक है?
दिल से भुला दो तुम हमें, दिल से भुला
जी नहीं, न हम कभी भूले हैं न भूल पाएंगे बीते जमाने के इस मधुर मीठे संगीत को। 78 आरपीएम रिकॉर्ड्स का ये संग्रह इसका जीता जागता प्रमाण है। इन्हें इकट्ठा किया है बंबई के उल्हासनगर में रहने वाले श्री शोभराज ने, पेशे से इंजीनियर मगर बिगड़े रिकॉर्ड प्लेयर्स की मरम्मत और पुराने संगीत के एक बड़े शौकीन। मगर इस अभियान में श्री शोभराज अकेले नहीं हैं, क्योंकि वो सदस्य हैं सोसाइटी ऑफ इंडियन रिकॉर्ड कलेक्टर्स के। हम सोसाइटी के प्रेसिडेंट श्री नारायण मुलानी से मिले, जो दोस्तों के साथ वसंत देसाई के गीतों को सुनने सुनाने में मशगूल थे।
अपनी आन से बार 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 कर अंत में जिंदगी 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 कोई सपना नहीं जिंदगी कोई सपना नहीं जिंदगी।
जिंदगी की यादें, चाहत और लगाव इस संगीत के साथ जुड़ा है। ये संगीत सभाएं मुमकिन हो पाती हैं सोसाइटी के हर सदस्य के पास मौजूद अनोखे रिकॉर्ड संग्रह के जरिए, जैसा कि श्री मुलानी का संग्रह है।
ये मेरा कलेक्शन है और इसमें करीबन 3000 रिकॉर्ड्स हैं मेरे पास। इसमें फिल्म संगीत से लेकर शास्त्रीय संगीत और भी किस्म के रिकॉर्ड्स हैं जो 1905 से लेकर आज तक के बहुत से लॉन्ग प्लेइंग रिकॉर्ड्स भी रखी हुई हैं।
और यही वजह है कि संग्रह में बहुत सी प्रसिद्ध रिकॉर्ड कंपनियों के लेबल डिजाइन सुरक्षित हैं हिंदुस्तानी संगीत के साथ।
और क्लासिकल में जैसे पंडित ओमकारनाथ जी ठाकुर हैं, पंडित नारायण राव व्यास, वीनाकराव पटवर्धन, हीराबाई बड़ोदकर, केसरबाई केरकर, इसी तरह से। और फिल्मी म्यूजिक में अमीरबाई, जोराबाई, खान मस्ताना, जीएम दुर्रानी, राजकुमारी जी, ऐसे बहुत से पुराने आर्टिस्ट जो थे पहले, उनके ज्यादातर गाने हैं।
इसे हम ऑडियो हिस्ट्री ऑफ इंडिया का एक नमूना भी कह सकते हैं। पंडित नेहरू के भाषण, ग्रीटिंग कार्ड्स विद मैरिलिन मोनरो, स्किट्स, बॉडी बिल्डिंग इंस्ट्रक्शन रिकॉर्ड्स, ये तरह तरह के रिकॉर्ड्स उन्हें मिले कहाँ से?
हमारे एक फ्रेंड थे, वो एक बाजार में ले गए और वहाँ हम गए और वहीं से बहुत सी ऐसी रिकॉर्ड्स मिलने लगी। तब से वहीं रेगुलरली जाते हैं और पुरानी रिकॉर्ड्स लेकर आते हैं।
मगर अफसोस, ये बाजार जहाँ कभी चालू हालत में पुरानी चीजें मिला करती थीं, अब तेजी से आधुनिक चीजों के बाजार में बदल रहा है। दुर्लभ 78 आरपीएम रिकॉर्ड्स के रिसर्च और डॉक्यूमेंटेशन में जुटे हैं ऑस्ट्रेलिया के माइकल किनियर, जो सोसाइटी के प्रेरणा स्रोत भी हैं।
The significance of this Society of Indian Record Collectors to today's and future generations is that if we don't preserve the sound recordings that are available now, they'll be lost forever.
संगीत के अनमोल खजाने को बचाकर रखने में जुटे हैं ये लोग। सोसाइटी के सेक्रेटरी सुरेश चंदवनकर एक वैज्ञानिक हैं, शोभराज वासवानी इंजीनियर, प्रेसिडेंट नारायण मुलानी बिजनेसमैन। हर किसी के पेशे में वक्त की कमी, फिर भी संगीत की विरासत को आने वाली पीढ़ियों को सुरक्षित रूप में हवाले करने की कोशिश में ये लोग वक्त निकाल ही लेते हैं।
So, did you like this? 1991. And as I said in my reading, that really it was a prophetic thing which he said, that it has worked. It has given reference work through his articles to many, and is going to give further impetus. So it's up to us now whether to shelve it here, what he has undertaken, or take it further in our own ways. And as I see, so many platforms are opening for discography, like Discogs, and so many, and young people coming in. We have head is ahead. So I want to conclude my talk with another video, again made by Siddharth Kak around the same time. And that was called Gata Jaye Banjara. That was a 4-part Doordarshan serial, 45 minutes each, and covering about 15 years of period from in 4 parts. From begins at 1930 and ends around 1990. So I am going to show small part of the part number 1, where Michael, you can see again, talking about records and recording industry, and particularly about Saigal.
चौथे दशक में तकनीकी तरक्कियां हुई, ग्रामोफोन के रिकॉर्ड बनाने वाली कंपनियां खुली, एचएमई ने रहनुमाई की और रिकॉर्ड्स की मदद से घर बैठे ही गानों को बार बार सुनने का मौका मिला। उस समय किसी भी घर में ग्रामोफोन का होना इज्जत की अलामत समझा जाता था। उस समय एक रिकॉर्ड को बजाना अच्छा खासा मेहनत वाला काम था।
मैं अपने पिया पर जान मान शाम जबकि मैं अपने पिया पर जान मान।
एक ऑस्ट्रेलियन माइकल किनियर ने हिंदुस्तानी फिल्मी गानों के पहले बने 4000 रिकॉर्डों को इकट्ठा किया और इनके बारे में एक किताब भी लिखी है।
The success of these records led other record companies, such as Nicole Frere, to come down to India and take recordings. And they had a different style of record. It wasn't made of shellac, it was made of cardboard. These are unbreakable, but they play well. Unfortunately, they warp in the heat. But sometimes they would just record people off the street singing novelty songs, such as laughing songs, in which they would recite a little bit of poetry in Hindi or Bengali and then start laughing. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha, ha ha ha. The idea is that when they start laughing, you start laughing. And this became a total craze.
जो संगीत अभी आप सुन रहे हैं वो 75 साल पहले भी इसी तरह सुनाई पड़ता था, क्योंकि इसकी रिकॉर्डिंग उस टॉकिंग मशीन के जरिए की गई थी जो आज भी काम करती है। हिंदुस्तान की हर ग्रामोफोन कंपनी का ऑफिस कभी इस सड़क पर हुआ करता था।
सावन आया तुम नाए, तुम बिन रसिया कुछ ना भाए, तुम बिन रसिया कुछ ना भाए, मन में मोरे हूँ कयूं ठक जब, मन में मोरे हूँ कयूं ठक जब, कोयल कूकत बन में बालम आए बदू।
Like almost every recording I've had of Saigon, even though my main interest is classical, I consider Saigon to be more or less a revolutionary in the music industry and the film industry. Something of a Bing Crosby of India, someone who has got timeless quality. Joseph I? So.
करूं क्या आस निराश भई, 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 दिया बुझे फिर से जल जाए, रात अंधेरी जाए दिन आए, दिया बुझे फिर से जल जाए, रात अंधेरी जाए दिन आए, मिटती आस है जो तकियन की, मिटती आस है जो तकियन की, समझो गई तो गई, करूं क्या आस निराश भई, करूं क्या आस निराश भई, करूं क्या आस निराश।
So, this is how our dear Guruji and Michael Kinnear was. He also ends, and my lecture also ends with the notes of a singer which we all love, and he compares him with Bing Crosby of India. And when I asked him if Saigal is Bing Crosby of India, who is the Abdul Karim Khan? Abdul Karim Khan was Enrico Caruso of India, but you guys don't know the importance of these people. Well, Abdul Karim Khan साहब हो, Bing Crosby हो, Enrico Caruso हो, या Saigal साहब हो, it's a galaxy of unknown and unsung artists and singers are lying here. And it is up to us and young people especially to again bring them to limelight with all kind of relevances and references. Okay, thank you so much.